this segment would be Knowing is Half the Babble, where we wrap up the show. But this time around, we want to pay tribute to a member of the G.I. Joe community who is stepping away, and that is Hooded Cobra Commander 788. The day that we are recording this, he released a video on his YouTube channel explaining why he is stepping away from the G.I. Joe community. I have very little experience with him, but when I have talked to him, when I have met him, he has been a wonderful human being who is an exemplary ambassador of G.I. Joe and the G.I. Joe community. I recommend everybody check out the video on his YouTube channel if you want more details about exactly why he is choosing to step away. But Noel and Kristian, you guys are much more familiar with Brian and have a much longer history with him and what he's been doing. So I'm going to kind of leave it to you guys to talk about him a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll just mention. So I kind of found his stuff. I think he's been doing it for about 10 years. I think he mentioned even today that it's like a 10-year journey for him doing G.I. Joe reviews. I probably found him really early on, probably around 2015 or so. There wasn't a lot of G.I. Joe content on YouTube at the time, but him, Forum BX 257, and Half the Battle Timmer were like three of the early ones that I followed quite a bit. And I always thought of those three, no offense to the others, because they also made great content, but I always thought of the three he put together like the most entertaining and really like most informative of those reviews. And you could just tell he had a real passion for G.I. Joe. And so I mean I really enjoyed. I've talked to him a few times at conventions, and we've had him on our show. He's of course appeared on some of our panels at cons, and he's a super nice guy. Knows a ton about GI Joe, and definitely has some very strong opinions about what he likes and doesn't like. And just sad to see him go, but at the same leave this hobby. But at the same time, you got to do what is right for you. And if he's said today he just doesn't have the passion for it that he used to, and you can't blame him for stepping away if that's the case.
I can 1000% relate to just not having the fire in your belly anymore. I now the completely getting out of Joe is a little more wild to me, but as far as the amount of work that he puts into what he does is you wouldn't, just from what we do, I can tell you I have another full-time job just doing this show and everything that goes into it. And he is far and above the content that he produces is even so much more. So I understand burning out.
I discovered him a bit later than you, Noel. I want to say it was like 2016, 17. But his videos went at the time. I wasn't actively collecting Joe, anymore. And a lot of the toy YouTubers that I would watch at that time, just to me, didn't necessarily have the same like love put into their videos. Not just love for the subject, but the effort. But anyway, Hooded Cobra Commander's reviews, they became a staple. Even now, whenever we're talking about a vehicle that we'll be, talking about on the show, if he's had a video on it, you watch it. And you're not going to find very many people in the fandom who don't know who he is. And that's one of the things that really stuck out to me in this video is reminding everyone of just how small and niche the GI Joe fandom community is when you compare it to other fandoms. Doesn't make it any less important, but yeah, we should all follow his example and uplift the fandom.
I would say it actually makes it more important to us because it's that much more of a special thing when you do find people who are into Joe, because it's not as common as Star Wars or Marvel or even Doctor Who. Like, Joe is a very special, very niche community, and we should all appreciate each other a lot more than I think we do at times.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I also
So-
want to shout him out too, because back when we were doing charity stuff for, well, I mean, the Finest has always done charity stuff, but when we first started doing our calendars back in like 2017, I think was the first one we did, where we were raising money at the time for, I think it was Wounded Warrior the first year. He actually was a big supporter. One of our members actually appears in one of his reviews for Duke in his Duke costume. And but yeah, I mean, he was definitely plugging our calendars, and he's always been a supporter of the Finest. So I always give him a lot of credit for doing that and raising our awareness as well.
And that's what I mean when I say he's an ambassador of the GI Joe community. He has always been interested in bringing that community together and fostering the most positive environment that he could. So thank you, Brian. Thank you, Hooded Cobra Commander 788, for everything, for all of the hard work, for all of the blood, the sweat, and the tears over the past decade, basically of service to GI Joe and GI Joe fandom.
And for inviting us to be part of Cobra Convergence the last few years.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
that's been huge. I mean, if you had told me back in like 2017 that when that was first rolling out that I would actually be part of Cobra Convergence one day, I would have thought you were crazy. But it's been great to be part of that community.
Truly a privilege.